So we're learning the Maamar ציון במשפט תפדה תש"ל Hey. We began on the 12th paragraph, really, because the Maamar starts before this. Okay, and what is the Rebbe talking about over here? The Rebbe is talking about how it is that in the future the Jewish people will be brought back to the land of Israel. They'll have the Holy Temple, first, and then they'll come back to the land of Israel. And the Jewish people will be like it was supposed to have been in the time of the first temple, and even higher. And that's what it says, ציון במשפט תפדה. ציon is talking about the essence of the Jewish soul. B'mishpat, through Torah, tefda, it will be freed. The essence of the Jewish soul. That's the only thing that was lacking all this time. That's the reason that the temples were destroyed. The Jews worship the golden calf, and the Jews don't go against Hashem, is because the essence of their soul is not revealed. When the essence of the Jewish soul is revealed, essence, and everybody says, all the Jews say, I just want to be a good Jew. What's a good Jew? I just want to do what God wants. God is creating us. He's the creator. So all I want, that's the essence of the Jewish soul. So then that's going to be redeemed. That's called Sion. And b'mishpat, through the Torah, it will be revealed. And then what about all the other parts of the Jewish soul? All of your actions and your speech and your thoughts and even your emotions. Loving Hashem. And the essence of the Jewish soul is total self-sacrifice for God. Total, what's called Kabbalah soul. I'm going to do what God wants. But what about your personality? You have to be involved in it. So that's the external part of the Jewish soul, and that will be redeemed by charity, or the mitzvahs. Same thing. Physical things in the world. That's the first explanation. Then there's a second explanation, which is something much, 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 much deeper and higher. And it says, Sion, that refers to the tzaddikim, Jews that already have gotten to this level that their soul is revealed and they love God and they fear God. And Vishaveha, they will do tshuva b'tzedakah, by means of the commandments. The tzaddikim will do tshuva because of the commandments. In other words, and this is talking about the commandments are even higher. The commandments, not only, according to the first way of looking at it, the commandments, they free the outside of the soul. Here we're saying, no, the commandments, they free, they elevate the whole, even the tzaddikim, even Jewish people that have already revealed their whole soul and they're devoted to God, they will be what's called do tshuva. That's the Mashiach is going to do. Totally higher level. According to the first one opinion, by means of the Torah, all the Jews will become tzaddikim. According to the second opinion, all the tzaddikim will all do tshuva. The tzaddikim will even go higher. And that's going to be by means of the mitzvahs. So what is higher? It comes out, mitzvahs are higher. I mean, it says the Torah will make all the Jews into tzaddikim. But the mitzvahs will make the tzaddikim even higher than what they already are. So it seems that the mitzvahs are higher. Okay, now let's go. Now we're in paragraph Yud Gimel. Paragraph Yud Gimel is a bit Kabbalistic. So before we go into this idea of Kabbalah, these Kabbalistic ideas, I want to explain a little bit what the Rebbe is talking about. Because the whole idea of Chassidut is that we should appreciate every aspect of God. Every aspect of God. And just when you sort of start getting it figured out, that you sort of understand, God creates the sky, He creates the sun, He creates the moon. God creates us, He creates all the planets, and He creates all this. Then all of a sudden you think you sort of have it understood. Then you start to realize that no, that what you thought you had understood, that's God, that's only some spiritual aspect. You get this feeling, that's only spiritual, and God creates the spiritual. And if you don't believe it, I'm going to explain to you what the spiritual is. Spiritual is. in some ways, the spiritual is much more real than this physical world. This physical world is called the world of lies. Why is it called lies? Because it is totally deceiving. Right? This world is one total deception. It's hiding over the truth. That's why it's called olam, world. Olam is from the language of Helen, conceals the truth. And the upper worlds, that reveals the truth. The upper worlds reveal the truth. What is the truth? That this physical world is the highest of all. That's the truth. But you can't feel it in this world. In this world, you have no idea why we're here and what we're doing. So you have to have some appreciation of the spiritual until you can really grasp the importance of this physical world and how incredibly, infinitely it is important to the essence of God. But first, you have to understand a little bit about the revelations of God. Like sort of we talked about the essence of the Jewish soul, and the outside of the Jewish soul, the nature of the Jewish soul, the essence of the Jewish soul, and the external part of the Jewish soul. Well, there's also the essence of God and the external part of God, if you can call it. The external part of God is all the spiritual worlds. And the essence of God is, first of all, the essence of God is totally above all these worlds before the world was created. And where is that revealed? The essence of God and this physical world. But in order to understand that, you have to sort of understand the middle worlds first. Okay, ready? Let's go. Let's start to understand. There's what's called the personality of God. Personality of God. Why do people worship idols? God forbid. Why? Because they think God is really, really far away and that he's not got a personality. God doesn't listen to you. God is infinite, creates the world. So therefore, if a person wants to get answers to his prayers, so he prays to the moon, or he prays to a person, or he prays because they're at least approachable, and God is not approachable. So, well, that's a lie. That's a big lie. It's a spiritual lie, but it's a lie. God is infinitely approachable. He's infinitely close to us, and God does have a personality, and he listens to our prayers. In fact, right in the beginning of the Bible, in the book of Genesis, it says, God says, let us make man in our image. That God made man in his likeness and in his image. Man. Who is man? You, me. Go out on the street, you see millions of men. Billions. In China, there's like a 1.5 billion people. How many people are? Billions. Each one is created in the image of God. Does that make sense? God does not have any image, but it says in the Bible that God does. So what's going on over here? And especially some say this refers especially to the Jewish people, that they're made in the image of God. What is this image of God? So the Kabbalists came along, and it was revealed to them. There's a book called Sefer Yetzirah, which that was given to Abraham, it says. The secret of the book of creation, of book of formation. And over there it talks about the 32 paths of wisdom, and explains the 32 paths of wisdom of God. That's the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet, and God's 10 sfirot. 10 sfirot. What's 10 sfirot? The 10 aspects of God's personality. God has a personality, and this is it. This is the 10 sfirot. And the Tanya is explained also a little bit in the 3rd chapter. The 10 sfirot. The 10 sfirot of God are the 10 aspects of God's personality, and they correspond, amazingly enough, miraculously enough, to our personality. So we can, from ourselves, from ourselves, we can understand a little bit about what God is. It's sort of like, reading a book about Mozart, and you can understand what music is, right? A deaf person reads a book about the life of, who knows, of Beethoven or something, and from that he can understand what music is. Right? Looking at a road map of Hong Kong, and it's the same thing as being there. It's a totally different world. But nevertheless, the fact is that if you read the book, you know there is such a thing as Mozart, and you know there is such a thing as music, and you know how the music works, sort of, and this, even if you're totally, God forbid, deaf. You know that there is. The same thing, we're reading these ideas as we know there is such a thing. It's called Yediat HaMetziut. And there's tzaddikim that actually feel this. They actually are connected Their mind is connected to God's mind. Their heart is connected to God's heart. And the Tanya says every time a person learns Torah, his mind is connected to God's mind because these are God's ideas. And you do a commandment that your arms and your legs, etc., are connected to God's. Okay, let's go. In general, there are what we call, we can how do you say, describe God in 10 sfirot. That's what it says in this book, the Sefer Yetzirah, that I told you about. The 10 sfirot. The 10 sfirot that we call the 10 spheres, the 10 aspects of God, the 10 facets of God. In any case, they're divided into two general categories, these two, intellect and emotions. Or you can even go further, intellect, emotions, and action. Action, speech, and thought. Action. Intellect is chachma, bina, v'dat. That you've heard of that before. Chabad. Chachma means basically an idea, faith in God, faith, something above understanding. Bina is understanding. Dat is realization, bringing the ideas into your emotions, taking the idea seriously. It's really, right? Like you get a check. First of all, you have the general idea what a check is, and then you understand that this check is, what you understand clearly what a check is, and then you see your signature on it, that's dat. Then it connects to me. Then you get emotions. Love, fear, chesed, gevura. Tiferes is like purpose. That's these are God's aspects of God's personality, God's emotions, God's intellect. Okay, finally, down in the bottom, if you want to call it the lowest aspect of God's personality, is what's called God's kingship, malchut. And what connects God's personality, his emotions, his intellect, to malchut is an aspect called yesod. Yesod. So we just counted Sfirat HaOmer, right? You know about chesed shebechesed, gevura shebechesed. Okay, and now we're going to start to deal with this. Now, it's a very basic thing that God creates the world, and God creates the world also using these 10 sfirot, especially the aspect of God's malchut, his kingship. He uses this in order to create the world. That's why we say malchutcha, malchut kol olamim. There's a very interesting book I can show you. There's a book called Shari Ora by Rav Diktili, I think. And Shari Ora, and there it it connects every word, at least every word in the davening that we have in the prayers, and additionally also other words, tree, house, boat, car, all of them to a different sphere and aspect of God. River is chachma, river is bina. There's a tree is malchut, is tiferet. It depends where. So everything that there is in the world, that's what it means that everything in the world has a message. Everything in the world somehow or other reflects another one of these aspects of God. Now go out in the morning, just go out and look and see how beautiful the world is, right? Beautiful, the world, that's tiferet, how balanced it is. Then you realize how kind God is. He's creating all these things, he's shining, that's God's kindness, chesed. Then you realize how powerful God must be if he can enliven, put life into all these things, the grasses and the birds and this, that's God's gevura. Etc. You can look at the world and you can see, and you appreciate a little bit of the amazing wonder of God's splendor. Right? Okay. So these are all aspects of God that we can see. Okay, but then we also know that God creates bad things. God creates bad things. In fact, the world is a pretty bad place. Now, it's a pretty bad place. We're living in a how do you say, in an incubator here in Israel, Kfar Chabad. Israel, we're surrounded by enemies. They shoot missiles at us. We don't even know. They blow themselves up in experiments and all sorts of things like that. God just protects us again. But other places, you can see the anti-Semitism here. You hear about it. Anti-Semitism in the streets and this and this crime and there's this. I mean, this thing also exists in Israel, but we're sheltered from it. So God creates some really bad things, and even more, while people are doing bad things, God is creating them, and God creates the possibility to do bad, and he enlivens people that are doing bad. Where does this come from? What aspect of God is it that creates bad things? Which one of the 10 sfirot is it that does? So now we're going to see. Okay, let's go. Okay, let's go back to our original mimer that we had. So we have two different opinions. What do the mitzvahs do? According to the first interpretation, the mitzvahs, that just cause, it says, redeems the outside of the soul. And you want to reveal the inside of the soul, that's by ציון, that's the inside of the Jewish soul, the mishpat with Torah. You want to make all the Jews into tzaddikim, that's the Torah. Torah is more powerful. That's the first explanation. The second explanation, with the Tzemach Tzedek, says, no. ציון refers already to the tzaddikim. You want to make the tzaddikim do tshuva? The tzaddikim do tshuva? Then that's by the mitzvahs. Mitzvahs are higher. Okay, let's see how this all fits in together. Let's go. Excuse me 1 minute. I want to turn on the air conditioning. It's getting hot over here. Maybe I'm... Okay. One second, excuse me, I'm sorry. There we go, good, I'm sorry. Okay. Good. Hine Pirush, this explanation, now we're on paragraph Yud Gimel. Hine Pirush, this explanation, that returners, make return. It'll make the tzaddikim return, shaveha. The tzaddikim will do tshuva by means of tzedakah. He lamaila, this is above than the first explanation we gave of ציון b'mishpat tefda. That ציון means the inner Jewish soul will be revealed by means of mitzvahs. He behetem im apirush shebelikuti Torah and b'sefer likutim of the Arizal, Kabbalah. Okay, so what's our question again? Is Torah higher than the commandments or not? According to the first explanation, the Torah is higher. The Torah reveals the inside of the Jewish soul. And the commandments only the outside of the Jewish soul. According to the second explanation, the commandments are much higher. They make the tzaddikim do tshuva. Says the Rebbe, this goes according to Kabbalah also, and there's also a Mimor from the first Rebbe of Chabad that also fits in. Okay, with me? Yes. Yud Gimel, yes? Yes. There we go. Of the Lukutim of the Arizal, here we are. All right, so I'll read it over here. Al pasuk on the pasuk, ציון b'mishpat tefda, El Shesham, but over there it explains these two levels in Darga Tachtona, a little bit lower level. Good, let's go. There it says that tzaddikim, let me just read it in my book because it's closer. So that ציון, is this the same thing? Yes? Yeah. That ציון, he is Nekudat ציון, the point of this level called ציון, which is Yesod Shebenukva. Now I told you there were the 10 Sfirot, right? I told you this is going to be a little bit Kabbalistic. So God creates the world with his aspect of Malchus, his kingship. Kingship is called feminine. It receives Malchut, it receives from all the levels from above it, and this is from where God creates the world. Something like how everything grows up from the ground, because the ground receives from what's above it. So Malchut receives from what's above it. All the 10 Sfirot, the 9 Sfirot above it, Malchut receives in order for God to create the world. That's what's called the 10 utterances. When God created the world, 10 utterances. Your mouth only says what it receives from your emotions in your mind. Your mouth is another metaphor for Malchut. It says Dvar Melech Sholton. That ציון, this is what's called the aspect of Yesod, which is inside of Malchut. Okay, Malchut. Every one of these 10 sfirot, as we learned in counting the Omer, right? Every one of these 10 sfirot has 10 sfirot inside of it. We just finished. We only counted the lower 7 in Sfirat Omer, but we have, let's for instance, Chesed, and then we have Chesed, which is in Chesed, Gavur, which is in Chesed. Well, here we have Yesod, which is inside of Malchut, right? Again, the 10 Sfirot are Chachma, Bina, Dat, that's intellect. Chesed, Gavura, Tiferet, Netzach, those are the 5, what we call the main body of the emotions. Yesod, that's one of the emotions, but it's already going outside. And Malchut, that's totally outside. So within Malchut, all this is going on. This is within God's power of creation. So within God's power of creation, there is what's called Yesod. And this is Yesod Shebenukva. Because Shehu Chalul, because it is hollow, V'orot Megalim Sham, and lights of God are revealed there. They're revealed, they're not hidden, they're revealed. And anything that comes out into revelation is in trouble, right? President of the United States, when he's in the White House, he's got no problems. As soon as he goes out, he has to have Secret Service men around him. He has to do the same thing. When God's revelation starts to come out, then it's in trouble. Shamu achizat achitzonim. This is where what we call the external forces can grab onto it. Okay, so again, God creates the world. He creates the world from his, what's called Malchut, his kingship. Inside of Malchut, there's also the aspect of Yesod. Yesod is connection to what's above it, but Yesod is also the ability to come out. Yesod means connection going out. That's why on the Jewish person, Jews, they have a circumcision on the place on their body which corresponds to Yesod. That's where the place of the circumcision is, because that place, it can do big sins. And on the other hand, it's the most holy. That's where children come from. So that's this aspect of Yesod. So because Yesod can go either way, so therefore that's the place where the external forces can rule. Lochan Omer, it says, b'mishpat tefda. Therefore it says, only by means of the Torah, mishpat, can it be redeemed. Right? How can a person be redeemed from, saved from doing bad things? You have the Torah. The Torah tells you what's good and what's bad. Someone comes along and tells you, listen, it's good to eat not kosher food because it makes you healthy, but it says in the Torah otherwise. I would love to do it, but it says in the Torah you can't. Right? If you want to be really healthy, you drive your motorcycle on Shabbos, the streets are free, good, maybe, but the Torah says you can't, right? The Torah says you can't do these things. So the Torah, that's b'mishpat, ציון, b'mishpat, ציon is this aspect of Yesod, which is in Malchut, the possibility to do bad, or even deeper, God's potential to create bad, is by means of the Torah, b'mishpat tefda. This gormim, it causes tefda, that it will be redeemed. What does it mean, redeemed? Saved. Dochim misham achitzonim, the external forces are pushed away. Now, God also creates all these external forces. Why does he do this? Because the essence of creation is free choice. That's the whole novelty of this world. God has all these angels and billions, infinite numbers of angels and worlds and sphirot and spiritual worlds that are just fantastic, incomparable, but there's no free choice. And God wants there to be free choice. Why he desired that? I don't know, but that's what he desired. And strangely enough, it makes him happy. That was the whole idea of the Beit HaMikdash, the Holy Temple. People could choose to come to the Holy Temple, and they could choose to serve God. That's going to be the whole idea of the Mashiach. He's going to rebuild the third temple, and everybody's going to realize, hey, there's a house where I can really serve God 100%. I can do what God wants. And all the Jews are going to run to Israel. I want to serve God. But on the other hand, there's the normal world saying, what are you, nuts? What are you talking about? You're going to kill animals? That's why you're going over there to kill animals. The animals are just the human beings like you, right? A dog is a human being, just like, what are you talking about? Look, they have eyes there. Logically, they're right. They got a point, a very good point. I'm going to kill this animal for this to serve. But God says you should do it. I'm going to do it. God says you shouldn't do it. But God says I won't do it. If God says I shouldn't do something, I'm not going to do it. Light a cigarette on Shabbos. No way. What's wrong with that? God said. That's the Torah. The Torah pushes away all these external forces. Of Ladayan and calls this is only kedei in order shelo yitachzu bo. This is only in order so that the forces of evil, the forces of bad, that we can choose them if we want to, and they're very tempting. Lo yachazu bo. You learn Torah in order to save what's called this aspect of malchut. What's going on there? What's it going on? Hello? What's this? What's this? Please. There we go. Yeah. All right, good. What is flashing on the screen over there? Huh?
Somebody pushed a button. One of the Jews.
Put pictures over there or something. There we go. That's good. Oh, that's better.
That's the wrong one, though.
Yeah, it's the right one.
That's the wrong one. It's not the wrong one. It's just not the one we're learning.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Okay. Vatehi nikera sham b'makom v'lo ta'aleh adayin l'makoma harishon. That won't go up to its first place. This is not the right Mimor, what we're learning. Good. This is only so that Yesod of Malchut will be protected. And the forces of... Maybe you guys turn off your oh, I can do it. One second, I can do it. So 1 second. I will do it. Here we go. Oh, there we go. Okay. I'm sorry I had to mute you fellows, but nothing personal. But Teitzei mi b'nei mikol v'kol. Lo ta'ala adayin l'makom rishon teitzei mimenu kol v'kol. Okay. This is in order that this aspect of Yesod of Malchut should be protected from making bad choices, protected from the forces of, how do you say, egotism, separateness, selfishness, darkness. That's what the Torah does. In order to take this aspect of Yesod, of Malchut, this creative force where there's the potential for evil, in order to take it out totally from this potential and to elevate it, and put it back to its place where it should be connected to God, there has to be tzedakah. So we see that according to Kabbalah, Torah protects a person. It protects us from bad. But tzedakah elevates a person so it's not even relevant that he should do bad. That what it means that it will make them return with charity. What does it mean? In order to return it back to its original place. It says in the Tanya that even the greatest tzaddikim, before their soul comes into the body, there's level of service of God, love and fear of God. True, they don't have free will, but love and fear of God is infinitely greater than when the body is. The trick is to have this level of love and fear and devotion to God when you're in the body, because that's what God wants. But this world should be refined, and it can only be done if we unify in ourselves these two opposites. How can you do it? It says, well, in order just to say hold on, to keep the status quo, and you survive, and you maintain your Jewish identity, you don't fall, that's the Torah. But it says over there in the Arizal, but if you want to elevate the soul and give it an awareness of what it had before it was put into the body, while it's still in the body, then that is by means of charity. That's tzedakah. Tzorach tzedakah. U'b'zechut tzedakah, and by means of tzedakah, tashuv l'makoma, the soul will actually go back to its first source. And the reason, if you want to say it, it's sort of obvious. Why? Because when you learn Torah, you're sort of the boss. You understand and you grasp and you remember and you. But when you do a commandment, you don't really grasp anything. You're putting on these tefillin, God is grasping you. Even though it says in the 5th chapter of the Tanya that when you learn Torah, the Torah grasps you and also. But nevertheless, in some ways you'll see that because you don't understand the commandments, that shows that they're higher. We'll learn about this. Hari, that's the level of Vishaveh B'Tzedakah. If so, according to this interpretation that it has in the Arizal, it says Vishaveh B'Tzedakah, this idea of doing the commandments is higher than ציון b'mishpat tefada, is higher than what it says that ציון by means of Torah will be redeemed. So the commandments, according to this, why we went through that Kabbalistic thing, but the point of it is that although the Torah protects us from all bad and it protects this level of Yesod of Malchut, but in order to raise it up to its original source, that is by means of the commandments. They can move, and it's also understood simply. Like it says over there, the mishpat, this idea of mishpat, which is the commandments, which is the Torah, Hagam, the mishpat, even though that in other places it says that mishpat refers to not the Torah, but God's mercy. In Yanuhu Kafi Shurt Adin. Learning Torah, what is learning Torah? You learn what the law is. You learn what you should do. You understand. Masha'enki and tzedakah, which is not the case, charity, the commandments, but the ultimate commandment is charity. In the Talmud Yerushalmi, charity is called the commandment. Whenever they're referring to giving charity, it says he did the commandment. The charity is the ultimate commandment. Why? Because it takes godliness and puts it into the world. And charity, unlike learning Torah is depending on your understanding. Right? You understand, you don't understand. Right? You can learn Torah day and night and not understand. Well, that's good, you've tried. But that's not really 100% the mitzvah of learning Torah. Learning Torah means you understand what's there. You sort of become the boss. It's limited, which is not the case. Charity is lifnim mishurat adin. Charity, you can give more than what you have to give. Charity is also in the Gemilat Chassidim. It says anything that you do which is good for others, and you're thinking about others, that's charity. So charity in some ways is higher than learning Torah. The commandments, action in this world is higher than learning the Torah. Learning the Torah, it says, wakes up the essence of the Jewish soul, makes everybody into tzaddikim. But charity can elevate even the tzaddikim to be higher. Behold, charity Yudalit. Mimor, it's explained by Makom in another place, Shapirusham, that the explanation, Shehem B'Kasuv Echad, that if there is different explanations, different interpretations on the same sentence, Shayachim Zelazeh are relevant one to the other. This is, of course, in the condition that the rabbis are genuine, God-fearing people and they know the Torah. Moving from this, it's understood Asher Apirush the Vishaveh Tzedakah. That what it says that that Vishaveh Tzedakah, that the Vishaveh Tzedakah, that doing charity and good deeds is below ציון b'mishpat tefada, is below the Torah. That was the first explanation we had. Yesh lo shaychas, it must have a connection with what we said, that Vishaveh v'tzedakah, that doing charity is higher than learning the Torah. Tzyon mishpat tefada. So the first explanation said that mitzvahs are not as high as Torah. And the second one said that the mitzvahs, doing the commandments, are much higher. This is something what it says, what the inyan of chosem hamitapech. Chotem hamitapech. What's chotem hamitapech? You ever see they have these, they don't have it nowadays so much. But there used to be seal. You had a seal. And the seal, sometimes they still do. The seal, like a signet ring, it had a seal on it, or people had a stamp that had a seal on it. And they would stamp into wax. Or sometimes they would even make it into the paper. Now, what is on your seal that sticks out, and the seal sticks out, when it goes into the wax, it becomes indented in. Indented in. So that's called a chotem amitapech. A seal that, how do you say, turns over. Mitapech, it turns over.
Inverts?
What? Inverts, if you want to call it.
Invert.
Inverts. Okay, but it inverts more than just in one way. If you look at the seal over here, you see all the letters are backwards, right? You look backwards. But when you push it in here, so that the words go the right way. Also, here they stick out, and here they're indented. Here they're indented. So it says it's the same thing. Is the Torah really higher or lower? Well, it depends how you look at it. If you look at the Torah from over here, let's say this way, how it is in its source, then the Torah is higher. But when it comes down, so you see the Torah is indented, it's lower. Or you can say the other way around, right? The commandments, are the commandments higher or are the commandments lower? Here you don't see anything. When you stamp it down, all of a sudden you see that what sticks out is the commandments, right? What sticks out. So here what goes out is lower, and what goes in comes out to be higher. So this is the same thing, Torah and mitzvahs. It depends how you look at it. Sometimes the Torah is much higher than the commandments, and sometimes the commandments are much higher than the Torah. How so? We'll see. It's the same thing, just depends how you look. In our case, we're going to see what is the wax. The wax is going to be this world. We'll see. Ready? You know, it's like this. You do, it's known, Shemaim Rizal, that the rabbis say, Talmud Gadol, that what it says, the Torah is greater than doing the commandments. But that is only Achshav now. But it says in the Gemara, Talmud is Gadol than Maaseh. But it says that this is only talking about now. Before the days of the Mashiach or before the raising of the dead, like it says, Avol biyamot Mashiach, in the days of the Mashiach, Maaseh will be greater. Doing God's deeds will be greater. Now, it's not to minimize the importance of learning Torah. Learning Torah is always going to be the same importance. But in the days of the Mashiach, we're going to realize that Torah was much more important than what we thought. Torah, much more important. But the commandments were even more important than that. Hine, Talmud and Maaseh, this idea of learning Torah and doing deeds, hein, bedugmas, tzomech v'domen. That what we said, that Talmud, learning Torah, and that learning Torah, of course, that's with your mind. Doing deeds is only with your body. Any fool can do the commandments, right? Any fool can do the commandments. You don't have to have any intelligence whatsoever in order to do. You could teach a monkey to do the commandments. But learning Torah, that's especially for the Jews, but they'd be incredible, only intellectual people. So obviously Torah is above. That's like someach v'domen. That's like plants and animals. Plants and minerals. Plants and minerals. Plants grow. Minerals are just dead. That's like the commandments. The commandments are dead. They're just dead things. You put them on your arms, they're dead. Learning Torah, you grow. You become big. You become a tree. But in the future, it'll be the difference. It'll be Maaseh Gadol. The deed will be greater. Because as then Titgaleh will be revealed. Malat Adomim, it will be revealed the greatness of the physical world. Physical will be higher than plant and anything else. What does this mean? For instance, like it says by Yigash Elav Yehuda, there are Mimorim in Torah Ohr, that Yehuda came close, he came close to Yosef. Yosef was the king, and Yehuda came close to Yosef. The difference between the Mishkan and the Beit HaMikdash. Did we learn that? I don't know if we learned that. Yosef, he was the king, right? You know the story over there, that the brothers sold him down to Egypt, and he became the king of Egypt. And the brothers, all of a sudden, everything turned around, and the brothers, they became the servants. They were the lowest ones. They came begging for food. Yosef was the king. And Yosef is the king, and Yehuda comes close to Yosef. It says Yosef is the language of Yosef, to add on. That's like plants. Sameach, it grows all the time. That's also like the Mishkan in the desert, the tabernacle in the desert. It was made mostly from plants. The walls were made from wood, right? So that's something like the plant. In fact, the whole order of the thing, the ground was ground, then there was wood, and on the top of the wood, the roof, was the skins of animals. So it went from mineral, plant, and animal. It went in orderly fashion. That's Yosef. Yosef represents that. But it says the Mashiach is going to come from David. And David is from Yehuda. Right? This idea of Yosef, that's like learning Torah. You learn Torah, you increase all the time. Get greater and greater. Yehuda, that's the idea of doing the commandments. Yehuda is the language of Hodaya, of, how do you say, surrender. I surrender myself to you. I am ingratiating myself to you. Yehuda. Yehuda is like the thing of doing commandments. It's just total surrender to God. Okay, God, you want me to put on boxes? I'll put them on no, not the right on the left hand. Yeah, I'll put them on the left, not between my eyes. Whatever you want, I'll do. Right? It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any. That's Yehuda. That's like the Beit HaMikdash. The Beit HaMikdash was made, it says, from stone. It's all mineral, the lowest substance. This is especially important to Shabbat Chazon. Like it says, the Rav Hillel Miparich, that this is explained in great depth. Shabbat Chazon, that in Shabbat Chazon is shown to each and every person the future Beit HaMikdash. The future Beit HaMikdash, this is going to be with King David. Again, the third temple is made from stone. You could ask yourself, why not from like Yosef? Yosef is adding, growing. Why not make it from wood and things like that? It's because then in the future we'll appreciate the importance of stone, of the physical, of the mineral, of the physical world. And then in the future it says the mitzvahs, the physical, no-brainer mitzvahs will be higher than the Torah. That's the idea of Yehuda, why the Mashiach is going to come from Yehuda. That's the whole secret of the third temple, and that's what this whole Mimor is talking about. ציון במשפט תפדה is talking about the building of the third temple and the gathering of the Jews to Israel. It says the Inyan of Vayigash of Yehuda. It says Karot Beitenu. It says that the walls of our houses are razim. It says, but the Mishkan was of Atzei Shitim, a razim, someach, which is not the case. The Beit HaMikdash, that was from avanim, that was from stones, the afar and dirt. In fact, even more, it's forbidden. Asr lasod bo'etz bolet, is forbidden to make in the holy temple any wood to put in there. And also it says lo titalacha asherah kol eitz. Wood was forbidden in the holy temple. Why? Because the Beit HaMikdash gilui malat hadomem was the revelation of the highness of the physical world. Just one more line, and then we'll learn the Sikha. The Ikar Gilui Malat Adomem, and the main revelation of how high this physical world is, will be La'atid Lavo, in the future to come. That's the idea of the Mashiach, to reveal how important this physical world is. The Beit HaMikdash Ashlishi in the third temple. Sa'az Yit'aleh Yehuda, then Yehuda, he will be the king. Bechinat Domem, to be Lamayla, above Yosef. Bechinat Someach. It says there's going to be a Mashiach ben Yosef, a Mashiach ben David. Mashiach, interestingly enough, Mashiach ben Yosef is almost not described in, and we pray every day at Samach David, Meirata, the David Mishichecha, King, there's David Mishichecha, but there's also says a Mashiach ben Yosef. And there's all these different opinions what exactly this is. There's the Stei Chemed has one, and Ben Ishchai has an interpretation. What exactly is Mashiach ben Yosef? In any case, according to all these opinions, Mashiach ben Yosef is a preparation stage or preparation person to come. Some people say it was the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, whose name was Yosef. And the Rebbe, he's the Mashiach. Okay, but the Rebbe said that the previous Rebbe was Mashiach. Maybe he meant Mashiach ben Yosef. In any case, it's got to happen. It's going to happen soon. And the whole thing of, it's not going to be like Moshe. Moshe, it's true, he drove the Jewish people crazy and made them do things they didn't want to do. Mashiach is going to do the same thing. But Moshe, he only did like what we said over here. He showed the importance of the Torah. He saved the Jewish people from Egypt. He took them out so that the evil forces would not be able to take them over, that they could survive. But Mashiach will make them elevated. He'll elevate even the tzaddikim. He'll show the importance of even the lowest things in the physical world, the simple Jew. That's what the Baal Shem Tov started off. But in the future, it says that the Mashiach is going to come from the tribe of Yehuda, not from Yosef. Even more, it says that Yosef, he made all the troubles. That was Yerovam ben Navat. He made all the troubles. It's explained in them. He was from Ephraim. Like it says, Ani lokeach et eitz Yosef. It says in the prophecy, I am taking they told the prophet to take 2 pieces of wood. One of them is Yosef, and one of them is Yehuda. I'm taking the tree, the wood of Yosef, the stick of Yosef, and atati oto, I'll love, and I'll put on it the tree of Yehuda. Avdi David, and my servant David, Melech Aleim, he will be the king. The David Avdi, and my servant David, Nasi Aleim, he will be a ruler for them forever. That already explains the 2 differences between these 2 languages. Okay, so that's what we're talking about over here. We're talking about Mashiach coming in and making a whole new type of going out of Egypt, a whole new type of going out of ourselves. That even the tzaddikim, the holy Jews that had been redeemed, that had been protected, and etc., and they brought back to the land of Israel, all the great, they have love of God, fear, everything. But they'll also do tshuva. That's the highest thing, because why? To show the importance of this physical world, why God put us here in the first place. And then it's going to start to make sense, all the suffering that the Jewish people suffered because they were in this world. How that's going to be, I don't know, but it'll sure be good. And by means of our learning it, it brings it closer. And this class was devoted to the memory of Chana Bas David, and for the speedily the healing of all the Jews that are sick and all the non-Jews that are sick. Why not? Creations of God. And that they should stop, maybe who knows what will do it, to stop all this rioting in America and all the destruction that's being done, and should be corrections to the police system if it has to be corrected, and to the to our whole, how you say, nervous system. That really should be corrected. So now we'll learn a sikh of the Rebbe, and we'll take a 2-minute break.